McDonough to come up big like he did on that last series against Iowa? Is that something you've sort of seen building? He's made maybe a lot of plays that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet, but he's just
Yeah,
been getting
I
better and
think
better.
he's done a great job, and and I think when things like that happen, we always talk about multiplying the pleasure and dividing pain. And you look at that play. If you go back and study that play, the coverage was incredible. Our guys in the back end were doing a great job. The one Zach Dom he had three guys on him, and allow somebody to be one on one. And if you're one on one, you got to win, and he did.
And in terms of your defense in general, what do you feel you've been good at so far, and what do you feel like you want to clean up for this next one for the bye week?
Yeah, I think our guys, the attitude and effort and the practice and focus and those things have been incredible. Which, if you don't have that, nothing else matters. So that's a plus. I think the details of some scenarios, some run fits, some pass coverage fits, just being more decisive and being more trustful that's where I belong and that's where the ball's going, and I can trust that that's the play that I really see and the route that I really see, and I think that'll come as we get going here. I think an area that we have to clean up. If you look at our last three games, we have to do a better job of our offense scores. The next drive out, man, we've given up a touchdown about every time after that drive. And as a defense, man, that's when you have a chance to try to close the door and get our guys back the ball. And we haven't done that in the last few games, really since Miami. And, we've been really great on, punting the ball and going and play defense, get off the field. I think we maybe only given up one score in that scenario, but that's one area that we're talking about, and we're looking at it as coaches too. What are we calling? What's different? What's happening? But we've got to be able to stop people when our offense scores and try to get some more margin.
How much of moving Jeremiah to corner was not only because of confidence in his abilities, but also the confidence that you guys had in your younger safeties coming up?
Yeah, a lot, both of those. I think, Jeremiah gives you a veteran, and he could communicate like he's a safety because he's got so much experience. So anything that happens out there on the edges, communication-wise, on his half of the field, he's done a great job for us. And really, then the young guys have they were competing and still are competing. And we moved JMO over the field last week because Tay had a great week, and so we were able to get those guys in the game, and they've just done a good job. A lot of growth there yet to go for sure. They're young, but they really work hard at the game.
Yeah, how do you evaluate the safeties so far specifically?
I think they've done a good job. I don't, they're not where they want to be, and it's not where we have to be to go where we want to go. But we're in game 3, and those guys haven't played a ton of football, so I think they're doing great. We've got the same thing, like I told Rob, the details of what I see and where my eyes are, and trusting what I see and believing that's a work in progress yet.
When it comes to surrendering scores after you guys score, is there something specific about that scenario that's happening, or is it random?
It's a great question. We're searching it out. We're working really hard at it. Jace, our analytics director, brought it up again, to the team yesterday a little bit of just, man, we have to find ways to go out there with a mindset. And again, we've got to sort it out as coaches. And, it's got to be something we pay attention to, because it's something that really can allow your team to get, get the ball back for our offense. And it's not that we're not trying, that's not it. We're playing good folks too. And they're trying to score after we score. So it's competition and all that, but it's something to pay attention to, and we're certainly diving into it.
For McDonough, the offense had it last year with Jalen Travis. Is there anything specific about bringing in an Ivy League player in terms of what their plan is? And obviously it doesn't get here in the spring, has to wait till summer.
I was mentioning to somebody this morning, I think two things. One, obviously the learning curve, very sharp, very intelligent, comes in, can learn the defense, can learn the offense, can process it, has a plan on how to handle a day and all those things, very professional that way. And then, I just think too, I think those guys, they come here hungry and humble and thankful and grateful. And I think anytime you enter a program with that mindset, and you have the ability to learn the offense or the defense, you have a great chance of having success. And, he's gifted for sure. And, the other two things have allowed him to have some success faster than probably a lot of people would.
Building off of Travis's question, when you're evaluating a guy who's coming from the Ivy League, is there difficulty of when you're looking at a guy playing at a lower level of trying to imagine what he looks like in the Power
I
Five?
don't think so. I don't. I think guys can play or they can't. I think you're looking for, and I think around here specifically, we're looking for the right people. I think that's the first and foremost. Again, the two things I brought up are probably as critical as him having ability. The fact that he can come in and, you're only getting them in the summer. So you have to be able to process stuff. You got to be able to learn it, and those guys can. They've been able to, and he has some ability on the videotape. He was excellent, but I just think too. I think who he is, and they just come here with a hunger and humbleness, and thankful and grateful for, nutrition and weightlifting and mental health and all the things that we're able to offer. And I think it's awesome.
How satisfying was it to get those 2 sacks and finish that last drive for Iowa like you guys did?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's we've been here. I've been here 10 years, and we haven't been able to do that. So I think win that game at home. For our fans, and Coach talked about it for our fans and for our team and this university and all the things that go with it. It was very rewarding. And I think it was great for our players. I think our guys, I sensed that when we were on the sideline, I told Coach, I really felt like our guys were going to go stop them. I just had that feeling. I really, sometimes you can just tell if you're down in amongst it. And I really felt like they were going to go get it done. And I was proud of them for sure. And we're going to have to continue to get a whole lot better as we move forward here.
And then on a different side of the ball, Taylor Mauser, like what kind of energy has he added over the years to this coaching staff? And when was maybe the first time you realized that he could be a pretty good play caller?
Mouse and I got together. We started together at Toledo at the same time. I had come in from Purdue, and Mouse had come in from the streets, I think, wandering around. But, I think the one thing you find in this business, there's guys that are and Coach says it sometimes, trying to be somebody or trying to do something. And I always felt like Mouse was a guy that was trying to do something. Like he always wanted to be a coach. He was always never afraid of work, never afraid of being assigned something. Nothing was ever too small for him to do. And I've been in this business long enough to know that if that's how you are, if you're humble and hungry, you'll make it. And I think, when Coach was talking about making him the offensive coordinator, I wasn't shocked at all. I think he's earned the right to do that. Grew himself from the ground up, and I just think, like I said, I pay attention to that stuff because I think that's really what makes coaches. And he was one of those guys that no matter what was asked of him at Toledo, he did it. And I think the players really respected him for doing it. And I think the coaches did too, if they were paying attention. And I think that's why, he's here. And I think it's a tribute to him and his work ethic, and got a lot of spirit, and he's crazy and all that. And, I think it's good for all of us. I think it's awesome.
Marcus Neal avoided a red shirt last season as a true freshman for you guys. Can you comment on what his growth is from a late addition in that recruiting class, 2024 class, to now starting for you guys as a true sophomore and playing really good football?
Yeah, Marcus was interesting. Excuse me. Marcus entry, we had our eyes on him all the time, and we're just trying to figure out where he would play. I think that was really the only question we ever, where would we fit him in at? And as the more you watched, the more went along, you thought, man, he could be the middle safety in our defense, and which is kind of it's kind of like finding Bo. Like, what exactly is he? Some people were looking at him at one spot and some at another, and he was kind of in between size. But you just saw this love and passion for football, and man, he was aggressive and fast and could tackle and tough. And you can always find spots for those guys. And then that's when we kind of got him into the middle safety part. And man, he's done a great job there. Still learning, but done a great job.
Coach, you get this road trip on Saturday, running quarterback. It's going to be like 100 degrees. What kind of a challenge does Arkansas State present?
Yeah, it's a real challenge, Chris. I think anytime, but it's a great challenge for us now because I think it's what we're going to get into here as we work down through this whole process. So I think it's a great challenge for our guys. I think very talented guys, the speed of the game on turf, all the things. We have not played that yet. So that becomes a sense of urgency for our team. Defensively, we're going to have to play multiple people. So, if you're on the bus or on the plane, you're going to play, and you better get ready to play, and you're going to have to handle the moments. And I think it's a great challenge for our guys. I'm excited about it because we have not seen it yet. And I think it'll be, I think they do a great job of it. I think they go really fast, and they've got really talented people, and it'll be awesome for us to have to go compete and figure out if we got a handle on it.
One more follow up on Marcus Neal. I think back in his high school career, he had played mainly like wide receiver, correct?
Right.
Now, what does he maybe take from playing on that offensive side of the ball, and then you see more defense his senior year? How's that kind of carried over?
Yeah, I think you have to. Those guys, I think they have to want to. To move to the other side of the ball. It's been like some of the guys that have come here as wideouts and moved over. But I think, for him, he was just a guy that loved, we told him early on what we were looking at him as, and looking at him as our defensive player. And, I think he just has the want to be great at whatever he would be asked to do. He has a tremendous spirit about himself, the way he practices, the way he walks in the hallways. He's contagious, and he's great to have around.
Coach, that last drive on Saturday, I know the personnel switched up. I think McLaughlin was coming off the edge. What's the fun part for your job when you can have the offense on their heels in those situations and get super creative?
Well, yeah, it's good to know exactly kind of where the clock was in our favor. Those kind of things were in our favor, and I think as a defensive coach calling the defenses there. I think early in the down, you're not sure exactly because there is some time on the clock. Obviously, with the timeouts, they had to take one of those. And so then we were able to sub and get, our end of game, our kind of nickel dime personnel in the game. And we were able to change up a couple things with what we did and what we've shown on videotape. And our players executed it. I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, you watch the plays. There's really nobody open. The guys are rushing the passer. Our spy Caleb Bacon was doing a great job. And it was kind of it was really a great for me to see, because it's what I tell the kids all the time. If something good happens, you're just one piece of something good happening. And I think that was a great example of it.
I don't know if you watched the game copy of the broadcast, but
No.
Gus Johnson told a couple stories about Coach Campbell and Taylor Mauser, and Coach Campbell giving Mauser his debit card back at Toledo to pay for a date with his girlfriend.
Okay.
Mauser breaking up with his girlfriend because he
Okay.
was so committed to working for Coach Campbell here.
Okay.
What do you remember about those moments, and I guess how do you see that come through in his
I was
commitment to
unaware
the
of that
program?
moment. I don't think I ever got a credit card, but I guess I was married, so I didn't need it. But like I said, I just think when he got there again, we kind of got to Toledo at the same time. I had been there once before, but as I said earlier, I just think when you look at young people that come in, you're always trying to, and I don't care what, probably in your business, how can you add value to the group that you're working with or for? And I think Mouse tried to add value every day, whether it was with a player or whether it was going to get something or do something or cut up videotape or meet with kids off the field, recruiting, whatever it was. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to try to add value and you're humble about it and you don't care what size the job is or getting any credit, you'll ultimately end up doing okay for yourself. And I would guess that's true in every business. And, I'm glad for him. I think he's earned the right to do what he's doing. He's doing a great job with those guys. And we got to continue to find ways to get those guys the ball more. And that's what our job is on our side.